So good morning, everyone. I think that it's safe to get started. And I want to apologize for my voice. Getting over one of the worst colds I've had. I think it's part of having a 2-year-old. All the wonderful germs that they bring. But my name is Brochu, and I'm the technical lead for the Connecticut Education Network. And thank you guys for coming to our third conference. Thank you very much, Anthony and Lee, and all the other sponsors who can make this happen. Please definitely check out all the booths. Without them, we can't have these type of events. So, part of my role at CEN is ensuring not only that the network is operating in the most optimal way, but also to help deploy services that you guys can find useful and take advantage of. And the biggest service that we offer is our iboss web filtering solution. So when I got to CEN a little over 2 years ago, we were using the M86 TrustWave web filtering solution. And I was very surprised at the lack of functionality that service had. And one of the things I said was we need to really start looking at what the next generation of web filtering is going to look like for our numbers. We had a filtering committee, and I recognized some of the people who were part of that committee to help look at what the next version of filtering would look like. So we investigated iboss, Barracuda, and Lightspeed, and we all came to the conclusion that iboss is the direction we want to go. Just to get a show of hands here, how many of our members are actually using iboss? So just about everyone. And how many of our members here are using the CEN cloud hosted? Okay, very small amount. So we have about between 175 and 200 districts that utilize the CEN cloud hosted environment. And that works well to an extent to them. That provides them with a base level of filtering. And we do about 12 gigabits of traffic during peak load. And we're scaled out to do about 48 gigabits of traffic between our Hartford and Stores data centers. But the on-site solution that Anthony and Lee are going to go over offers a little bit more granularity for detecting threats and dealing with the types of fun issues that students will bring, challenges that you'll have in your environment. And they're going to talk about that. And then with Kevin Ross from Plainville, he's going to talk about some of his experiences as well. So I think we'll be able to have enough good material here and hopefully have enough time at the end for some Q&A. So look forward to talking with everyone about this. So I'll hand it over to Anthony Lee from iboss.
Thanks, Mark.
Perfect. So I think I've talked to probably almost most of you. If you guys don't know me, I'm Anthony Bruno with iboss Security. I'm one of the senior account executives there. This is Lee Barnes. He's one of our senior network managers at iboss. And we're just going to kind of run through just a quick high-level PowerPoint. I know a lot of you guys already have iboss in place, but just kind of highlight some of the functionality with the product. And then what I'd like to do is address any Q&A with you guys, any questions that you guys might have. So I think a lot of you sat through our FireSphere presentation. And if you guys want to have anything that we discuss here or in the presentation, you guys want to have a deeper dive, just let us know. We're more than happy to set up a presentation for you in the district. But with further ado, I'll go ahead and hand things off to Lee, and then we'll go ahead and run through a nice high-level overview of the iboss security.
Thanks. Yeah, and I think this talk is going to be more focused on security as opposed to web filtering. Obviously, if anybody has any web filtering questions, I'm happy to answer all of those. But the big takeaway is security and education. So modern schools face a lot of threats, especially when we start BYOD initiatives. When you control the computers, it's a different ballgame than when people start bringing in strange devices like iPads or Chromebooks or their own Windows or MacBooks. They can already be infected, and you have no control over that, right? You don't know if they have an endpoint to take care of that, and you really have little to no visibility over that type of stuff. And that's what we're looking to solve And we're not doing so by looking at signatures. A lot of firewalls or intrusion detection and prevention systems are looking at signatures. And you know, that's kind of legacy nowadays, because I can flip a couple of bits on a malware file and you wouldn't be able to detect it any longer with certain payloads or signatures. So, I mean, that's essentially putting a mask on a file, right? Making it look like it's something else so that something doesn't detect it. So what iboss is really looking at from a security standpoint, and this is geared towards everybody that wants to improve their security posture within the organization, is we're not looking at the face or a mask, right? We're looking at how it actually behaves. So I think a lot of people misinterpret or don't understand how much personally identifiable information, PII is the acronym that goes along with that, PII that schools and educational institutions actually host, right? You guys host social security numbers, names, addresses, sometimes credit cards if you guys process transactions for tuition fees and books and things like that. Children under 20 are the prime targets for identity theft. They don't have credit reports that run all the time, so they don't really even know. They don't get alerts. So that's why attackers really go after them. And they're paying about $15 per PII for a student, right? So if I get a social security number, I can sell it on the black market, on the dark web for about 15 bucks. And those costs are only going up. So BYOD is here to stay. I think we all know that, right? And so I think that's why most people are starting BYOD initiatives. And the iboss handles BYOD in a really interesting way. We integrate with Radius, so anybody that's pushing Radius or looking into it, definitely go with it. We integrate as easily as possible, right? All you have to do is push accounting information, which is essentially your user authentication logs, over to an NPS server, and we scan that, kind of like we do with the AV plugin. You guys are all familiar with. So we're not looking at just specific operating systems or browsers or anything like that. We're looking at all traffic, all ports, all protocols, TCP, UDP. I think that's where a lot of legacy solutions go wrong. You don't have to worry about proxy settings unless you're dealing with terminal servers or thin clients or anything like that. And we can also do proxy in addition to inline filtering. So if you guys want to do inline filtering and then you want to send Chromebooks or iPads or Windows or Mac computers home, you can do so and still filter them off-site. We have an MDM. I'm not sure if any of you guys are familiar with it or familiar with MDM as a concept at all, but essentially what MDM is a way to control iPads, Androids, Chromebooks. Chrome already has their own MDM, which is Google Admin Console, if you guys use that. But it's really a way to gain control over what the device does. Whether that's allowing a phone, allowing the camera, allowing Siri, allowing autocorrect if they're taking tests on a Chromebook or an Android or an iOS device. You might not want autocorrect on because that's going to skew the English results, right? So you really have a ton of integration with iOS and Android, the things that you can actually remove from them. You can put on filtered apps. You don't want them getting Flappy Bird or Angry Birds or any of those other bird apps or whatever it may be. You can filter out game apps. You can filter out 17+ apps, so on and so forth. There's also volume purchase programs. There's also content consumer app pushing, so that essentially you kind of create a teacher as a publisher, a student would be a consumer, and they can push apps down to their students, depending on what class it may be, because every teacher may have different apps they want to push out to the students. We also enroll with DEP. So DEP is a way that Apple actually controls those devices by the device. If somebody goes and physically wipes one of the devices, DEP is going to automatically add our profile back onto it. So it's still going to give you location awareness, it's going to rip off all the bad apps, and re-register with the email. I think I missed a point there too. We also do SSO with Chromebooks. How many people are using Chromebooks? How many people like using Chromebooks? I think the hardest part is authentication. So we do Radius, and that's great, but anybody not doing Radius and you're using Chromebooks, we can transparently authenticate those just like they're a domain joined device. So as soon as they log into that Google captive portal, essentially, we're going to grab the username, associate that with a filtering group, whether it's AD based, we can do an LDAP lookup, or we can grab the Google groups that they're associated with, and then match those to a filtering policy. And that works through proxy as well. So here's more of the security, right? Threat and data loss. You know, what's everybody doing about it? And most of it's signature based. Once again, you know, not the best way to handle it. Instead of looking at signatures, we're looking at the actual data, or the cheese as we like to call it. We're not creating a better mousetrap. We're looking at the cheese or the data. We want to know if it's moving off the network. We want to know if there's a network anomaly. So that's all part of APT, which is FireSphere. It's just a separate subscription. It goes on the same hardware. You don't have to host any more devices, pay for any more power and cooling. It's really just a subscription per device. So what we're doing with APT is network malware scanning. So if they're going to any bad destinations, reputation-based, we're going to block that traffic. If they're going to any command and control sites, those are sites that try to control devices that have malware on them. We block that as well. We partnered with Kaspersky, Botnet Control List, Spamhaus, Bitdefender, VirusTotal, and a couple others to bring this to you. Some of this stuff is like marketing. I don't think it really applies here. So secure access to Google tools. I think that applies to just about everybody. Even if you're not a GAFI school, you're probably using YouTube, or you want to use YouTube, or you're having troubles with YouTube. I think that's the biggest complaint that any web filter gets is YouTube. It's always about YouTube. Whether it's, you know, they went all SSL, or, you know, how do I filter by categories, or can I just allow specific videos and not all videos? The simple but not so simple answer is SSL decryption, which iboss offers. And what's different from us and the competitors is we can do it selectively. So you don't have to decrypt all HTTPS destinations. You can decrypt just the ones you're interested in, like the YouTubes, the Googles, the Bings, the DuckDuckGos, if any of you aren't familiar with that search engine. So secure access to Google School tools. YouTube's the big one there. But we also allow selective or granular filtering on Google tools like Drive and Docs and Wallet and Shopping. So you can block specific Google sites without having to block all of it. So safe access to YouTube. We offer clean video search, Go Live Campus, which is a little more overhead or administration overhead than a lot of you want to use. And then there's YouTube for Schools, which lately has had a yellow banner across the site saying that they're not giving out any new YouTube for School IDs. I've been told through back channels that they're working on upgrading it, making it a better experience. So I say stay tuned for that, because that might actually be really cool. Otherwise, clean video search, it's essentially an API that runs that strips out any of the non-adult videos, brings those to you, gets rid of any comments, related videos, and ads. So that might be helpful to you as well. And then through SSL decryption, you're able to just specifically allow certain videos. So once again, a lot of administration overhead. You have teachers email you, say, please allow this video. You kind of have to watch some of it first, make sure it's appropriate, and then allow that video. Bandwidth management. Anybody struggling with bandwidth? That's it? Good. That's awesome. CEN. Great job.
It's not CEN fault, it's more of a local.
Sure. Budgets and things like that, right? Yeah. So you'll run into it, right? Whether it's more BYOD or you guys give out more devices, more one-to-one initiatives, whatever it is, there will come a time where it's, hey, do we need to upgrade our pipe, or what are we going to do about it? We can do bandwidth shaping. The bandwidth shaping gets pretty granular if you want it to be, or it can be generalized. You can say, for my student groups, I want to limit just streaming radio and TV categories, so you can do it by category, to 10 megs. That'll do away with, maybe they were doing 30 megs before, you just gain 20 megs. I want to do it by IP because I want to limit Netflix. And this may allow you to open up more sites, because maybe you're blocking some sites based on bandwidth. iOS updates. Chromebook updates, Windows updates. Depending on what types of systems you have in place, if you have update servers on site, great, you've already got that covered. Just block all the update sites then. But if you don't have those update sites or those update servers on site, you might want to just limit, right? Who cares how fast they go? As long as they complete maybe within a day, that's probably good enough. You could limit those. Help reduce that bandwidth burden. So this is more into the mobile ether, which is the MDM. You can essentially set up policies so that you can filter them off-site. It's pushed out automatically. You don't really have to do anything extra. And you can filter from either the cloud or the on-prem device, which is a nice option to have. And if you're filtering through either one, they can report to your external reporter there on-site as well. We can do auto quarantine. I think this is going to apply more towards the high-risk applications. Evasive protocols like Tor, UltraSurf, OpenVPN, Snapchat, all these guys that find really unique ways to get out of the network. Our auto quarantine is able to detect that traffic, their port knocking activity, and we can lock those computers down from the internet. That's really the best way to block those from getting out and allowing those nasty Snapchats to go out and things like that, or them to be able to browse bad sites through Tor or UltraSurf. The other auto quarantine this might be talking about is the FireSphere, which requires HP switches that are software-defined networking capable, which is really cool. I don't know if anybody's looked into SDN switches yet or not, but essentially what we're able to do is we can detect that somebody's going to 10 malicious domains, and our algorithms say, okay, yep, that device is definitely infected. It's probably XYZ variant of malware. Let's go ahead and auto-quarantine that, meaning let's shut off 80443 from it, or I could shut off SMB ports from it, or I could shut off all access to any network device from it. So that automatically stops things like CryptoLocker in its tracks, right? It's just on that one computer. We can get rid of it. It's not locking up any of our file shares. So that's pretty cool. We can do single sign-on with Chromebooks. So with Android BYOD, this goes back to Radius. If you guys are looking into Radius, we can do single sign-on with those. DEP program that we talked about. And then all the reporting of BYOD activity, right? You want to have visibility into what they're doing. So there's 3 or 4 different ways you can handle BYOD today. Is anybody having problems with BYOD, or does anybody want to improve what they're doing with BYOD as far as visibility into who's on what device, where they're going, what they're doing? Yes? Okay. So we can make assumptions. You guys are probably just handling them based on what VLAN they're in, based on a subnet, just giving them a blanket policy. What policy? Something like that, okay. We can push out a captive portal. That's kind of like the stick method, where, carrot and stick. You say you have to log in, and that's going to give you visibility into who's on what device, where they're going, that sort of thing, give you attribution. The carrot method is kind of like allow them to do that at first, but give them really limited access. Give them access to things like the school sites, syllabus, homework sites, testing sites, everything that they really need, but anything fun, YouTube, Vimeo, whatever it may be, streaming radio, make them log in for it. That's the carrot method. Right? Give them some sort of incentive to log in and give you that visibility into who's on what device. And then Radius is going to do it transparently, so that's awesome. And then SSF for things like Chromebooks. Live network dashboards. If anybody ever has a problem trying to find out a problem in the network, trying to figure out what it is, we're going to show you who's using your bandwidth and how much of it they're using in real time, where everybody on your network is going, so what different destinations are you guys going to, and it'll show you trends. So are we starting to use more Facebook? Are we starting to use more YouTube? Why are we starting to use those things? Am I allowing those things? It'll show you, down to the level of being able to take packet captures, right? If you see some sort of anomaly where somebody's using 500 connections, or they're using, on the x-axis, maybe a 2 gig stream, what are they doing? Well, you can double click on it and then take a packet capture, and then analyze that in Wireshark. And it's automatically pre-filtered out by their source IP, so you don't have to filter anything out. You don't have to really know anything extra. It's really nice. Thank you.
Hi everyone. So I'm not from iboss, so I can say things. I'm just kidding. Most people here have appliances, correct? Installs went well? Pretty much? I can't say, we got ours early. I was part of the committee that found them. We decided on going with iboss. So early on I knew we were going that way. I also made a promise to middle school parents that we'd be filtering their Chromebooks starting day one of school. I got my filter a week before school started, so that was fun. But working with iboss and me and some people and remotely getting it set up, we were able to do it. So it was pretty straightforward. I have no idea what we're doing.
That's
I'll let you. All right. So I'm Kevin Ross. I'm the IT director for Plainville Schools in the town of Plainville. Just some information about me. I've been doing this 17 years. I've been in the Plainville school system. Just last year, taken over the town. If you're in town, people here, boy, that's a lot of fun. Police, fire, nights, weekends. But I've learned that also recently. We'll talk a little about that with the school system lately too, because of the Chromebooks. So a little bit about Plainville. With 6 locations, not a big school district, only 400 students, about 400 employees. We're 1-to-1, grades 5 through 12 with Chromebooks. 6 through 12, you have to take them home. Over 3,000 devices, not including networking, printing, wireless. Those are just endpoints mostly. Are we only using CEN? I've got to say, I know some people have had issues with CEN in other towns, but in our town we have good neighbors, I guess. We don't have a lot of issues with losing our connection. I was talking to Mark earlier about that, and very few issues that we've had to deal with, luckily. We average only about 190 megabits, even with that many devices. If you guys don't know, there is a portal online where you can see your traffic. This is from their NOC is reporting this out. So this is the 2-day event. You can see traffic's kind of, average around 182, 990 megs. You also see some strange symmetrical traffic. You don't usually see that, and that's the nighttime. So we always know when our kids are using their Chromebooks because we are proxies. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So how we're set up, I know a lot of people have filters. I thought we may be talking because a lot of people who are making decisions if they were going to buy a filter or not. And you have great partners here with Digital Back Office as well, and directly from iboss if necessary. But our filter's in line. Our filter's down here. It comes in line. We have a dual redundant firewall system. Because we have so many Chromebooks, I looked at our network and said, what can I not replace within a half hour if something failed? And I can't replace a firewall in that time. So we put in the dual redundant. I can replace the iboss by calling the CEN and say, filter me please. I can get that back online. I can replace the switches on either end and help with the easily, but I can't replace a firewall easily and keep going. Because our business now, our education, is running on Google Docs and on Gmail and things like that. I also, when we were doing the investigation of the firewalls, the big thing I said is I want to fail open. That was different from when we first put in the 86. Well, fail close. The internet goes down, we lose our filter. We want no more internet. Well, I don't know maybe you, but when your internet does go down or something happens, you get a lot of phone calls now. That didn't happen 10 years ago when we had first put the trust waves in. You know, we still had a lot of local software, mostly desktops. So it was very important to have it fail open for us and deal with the ramifications there. Calling up iboss, calling up the CEN, say, hey, click on our, can you put us in a basic filter mode for now? So that's kind of our setup. We have an external reporter. Reporting on the system has been great compared to what we had. I can't say, I think it's been awesome. We're using Google Single Sign-On, and we're also using Active Directory Sign-On. We have both of those configured. We are running the client on our laptops. We're mostly a Mac laptop district for our staff. And the reason we run the client is, they take them home, and this is even on Windows, they take them home, they leave them logged in, they walk back in the network, they jump on the wireless, but they never authenticate again, okay? So the network has no idea, the AD doesn't have a clue, they're not seeing that, and they just fall back into the default group. Put the client on, it checks in with the filter and tells them, hey, who we are. Our desktops, on the other hand, are clientless, because they do log in every time. They get that the log is happening on the server, because there's a client installed on the server that's seeing all those transactions, all those logins, logouts. Okay? So that's how we have that set up. But the big thing that we did, as we started talking about, was filtering the Chromebooks from home. So grades 6 through 8, about 600 devices are filtered from home. It's proxy-based filtering. So we basically, in your Google management, you push out a pack file, and that pack file basically says, all right, what network am I on? If I can resolve this address to this number, I'm on the local network. If I can't, I'm on another network. Send the login screen, and that's what comes up when they get home. Okay, they get this login screen. We have ours configured to start with. It authenticates off of AD. Now, the underlying problem with that is, if you don't have the same usernames and passwords for your students for your AD credentials and your Google credentials, then kids get confused. We do. It's not easy, but we do. Kids try to change their Google ones. We're constantly doing that. But hopefully, eventually, we're going to get all that synced, which some of you probably have already done. But we've been with Google for so long, those tools weren't available. We've kind of not, we haven't aligned everything. It's one of our next projects.
We can customize that page.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, it's worked. An SSL certificate is huge, okay? Not just talking about, I haven't done the decryption stuff that they're talking about. That's going to be something else we're going to look at eventually too. But when they go home, that page comes up. And if we didn't have a cert the first week, because literally, like I said, I had it for a week. And that weekend that they went home with the Chromebooks was a lot of fun. I'm being hacked. It says it's unsecure. Just accept it. It's fine. And literally, it was a nightmare. So bought the cert, got the cert loaded and running, and off it went. And that solved a lot of problems. So one of the other things to think about, though, when you're doing this is everybody sits behind another firewall at their house, right? They're all proxied through NAT at home. So if you have, say, if you start thinking of doing this, and you have different rights, say, for an 8th grader than a 6th grader. Well, if the 6th grader goes in first and sets the connection on the iboss and says, hey, I'm coming from this address, it then sets the policy based on that address, even though they were the one who logged in. The next person won't even be asked to log in because now that address has been authenticated. So now the rights start happening. Now it's not a problem for us because we're filtering the same group and we're not filtering the high school at home at this point. But it's a problem to think about, to know about when you're doing this.
Especially if you have a teacher and student
Living
in the same
in, yes.
household. If the teacher or the principal or whoever it may be logs in first, the student's going to then have their access level. So if you do have any of those outliers, we see it very rarely, but if you do, come and talk to us and we'll talk about how to figure out getting around that.
So pros and cons. Parents feel more comfortable. Made parents happy that they're filtered, even though their children are trying their darndest. I mean, the #1 search how to get past iboss. Things like that. But you get that in the reporter. It's great. So you have a historical record of that they're using on weekends. So when you are going one-to-one or sending home devices, people you can see what the students are doing. Parents like that. And kids, it tends to curtail issues. You're always going to have, like in education, the SRPI model, that top 10% or 5%, you're always going to have them. They're never going away. There's always some troublemaker, someone's going to try. But at least you have a lot of what's going on. You gain more control. That's a good thing. One of the things that describes you, the subcategory control, one of the cool things we found out was being able to put schedules on. We don't do this a lot, but we've had parents who said, my son just is using the Chromebook at night. He's in his room, I'm not going to start parenting them, but myself at least. But this is something we've offered a few parents. We can set it so the internet is shut off at, say, 11 o'clock. The proxy can't go out. So that's some of the control. Now we go to the cons. That's still a con. Yeah, it's more work. More control is more work. So the more control you have, the more you can be responsible for. So it's definitely a balance. So the traffic is proxied in, like we're talking about, back through our CEN connection. So this is 2:30. Middle school's kind of leaving. It's kind of this is just looking at the iboss, and then this is the proxy coming on, and see the kids coming into the network. So you basically see them leave their bus ride home, walking, and boom, they're using their Chromebooks at home. And you can also see that again. I have that in this slide here. You can see it's symmetrical. It's in and out, in and out. So traffic's coming in and it's going out because it's them requesting data. Bigger districts, this may become a problem if your pipe can't handle this or you have issues. We have not. I've gone home and had one Chromebook set up, proxied, one not, same device, searched. I couldn't tell a difference, in day-to-day serving. So it's been really helpful. So the CEN and iboss have done a great job with that. But you're going to deal with after-hour issues. That's the nature of this beast now. So I know I've talked to other people who've done one-to-ones, said, I don't want anything to do with filtering at home. And I said, I didn't either. But once we've got it set, it has been pretty good. The students have known about it, have dealt with it, and haven't had too many issues after that first few weeks. But you will have calls if something does go down because now work is being required. Our textbooks are online via Chromebooks, and if the proxy goes down or something, then it could be an issue. So the last thing is Google single sign-on we were talking about. So we just finished getting this implemented actually in our network. We had a topology issue with how we used to have it set up. Our Chromebook network was its own wireless network. We use Aruba. Aruba was firewalling that traffic, and all that traffic was seen as from like one IP address. So when you looked at Chromebook traffic, it was like this one user using a lot. Boy, they're really bad. So we dropped them down onto the VLAN, and now we are looking at that traffic going through the iboss, and we turned on single sign-on. How this works is there's a custom application that kind of ties your Chromebook in. If you know how to push out applications in Chrome, you push out this custom app managed. And the way we have it set up is using a Google group that they're a member of becomes a sub of a iboss group. And so it says, all right, what's your group? I'm this group. And it says, all right, you're in the students group, you're in the staff group. You get that filtering policy. It's a little complicated to set up, I will say that. But they have great documentation. They have a 4-part video series that walks you step by step through it. And I also, if you want to have someone, just call them up and they'll walk you through it on the remote connection and walk you through it. The beauty of it is you can set it all up, and if you want to try it first, it's a single click to turn it on and off. Single sign, it's an on-off button. And the only complication that we found was during testing. So the single sign-on works great if everyone logs into their Chromebooks. Who does not log into a Chromebook? Everyone testing. So first day we had it going, I'm like, it wasn't everyone, because the way this works, we have their credentials cached for like 10 days. So if they authenticated, they had 10 days of that mission. They didn't have to the Google authentication page comes up. They didn't have to do that again or accept it. And but I had like random kids coming in, like it's giving me this Google authentication page. What's going on? So what happened when it took me a little while for the light bulb to go on. I'd log into it, wipe and power wash it, you know, do all the Google things, and I log into it, and it'd be fine, because I logged into it. That's what I realized. So then I went in and turned off the single sign-on during this testing period, and it's been working, hasn't been a problem. So that's hopefully something we can work out with iboss to start basically whitelisting the Chromebooks in that sense when they're in that setting. Now, another environment where this becomes problematic is if you are using Chromebooks with young kids and you're not signing them in and they're using guest mode, because basically what happens when this is on, any Chromebook that is on that network gets kind of captured and tries to authenticate, even if the app's not on. It just doesn't work right. So you gotta have to have that all in or not if you're gonna filter the Chromebooks at this point. So hopefully that's gonna come. I know this was really new when we got it. That's why also we didn't deploy it right away, because it was very new. But it was something that, it works well once it's going. So, you know, we will be turning it on next week when our testing is finished and going forward. But hopefully we'll be able to solve these problems in the future and just make it work.
Would an acceptable solution be to schedule SSO so you can put like an advanced schedule on it when to run, so you can kind of say, now we're doing testing, turn it off, and then once we're done doing testing, turn it back on?
It'll be a stopgap. I mean, basically, it would be nice if just like if they can see that the Chromebook is if they can see that the Chromebook is going just to these testing sites in a single sign-on. At the very beginning, because guest mode is important for the districts also, where they want kids to just kind of go in, and so there's no easy solution. Like I tell people, like we put the filter. I don't know if you told people, these are living, breathing devices. Basically, it's not. It doesn't just, you know. We had some, you know, who's using the keyword filter? Who's turning it off quickly, or at least unchecking lots of words, like the word lace, because they were doing laced. Sorry, but things. I've heard some great stories from teachers. To kill a mockingbird, they're typing the word to kill a mockingbird. I said, why didn't you call us? We would fix that. But this is the types of things English teachers and students them do. Is they try these different ways around it, and it worked. But you know, those types of things, you know, we're still all figuring out. I told our staff when we put it in the beginning of the year, this is an ongoing thing. Things change, things come and go. We'll work through it, and that's, I think, the biggest thing I can tell people when they're dealing with filtering, to tell their staff and try to be open, having an open policy, answering their calls quickly, and trying to resolve those calls quickly. That's all I have.
And just to counter that, the keyword example is, like you said, we have more control, but it's more work. You can allow keywords to kind of stop some of those false positives. So the example I like the most is breast, right? You probably want to block that keyword, but you don't want to block chicken breast or breast cancer. So you can allow strings of things. You can allow chicken plus breast, because that's how it looks when you Google it. So if you're ever wondering, well, what would I need to allow? Just Google it, and you'll see the end of it. It's Q equals, and then breast plus cancer. You can then take that, add it to an allow keyword, block breast, but allow that. Or same thing with Q plus kill plus A plus mockingbird. You know, it's more work, but you get the end result that you desire, more so than just turning off a keyword, I think. But once again, more work.
Do you have one person typically managing your own work, or do you have a couple of chefs?
There's a couple of us, actually. Dan, my network guy, and so we have a team. I don't know how you're set up. We are very centralized. We have a help desk. We have someone manning the help desk always. And then if none of us are around to do it, they would call us and we'd make the change if it was an emergency. Normally it's not legal, but if it was, we would make those changes. So we try to do it kind of at that sort of time. So we have people going out to handle calls, but we work all centrally. I'm very proud of our time. I mean, when our staff say, just call, literally, and we're fixing the thing within, you know, half hour. You know, once you get to that level, it's great. If you can get that customer service, it gets to the point where you don't get to them in a half hour now, like it's gotten the other way, like, well, it's taking so long.
So start off giving really bad service and just get the rest of it. Right? You don't want to give them unrealistic expectations. But just to that, I guess, you can also delegate access. So if you have an intern, if you have somebody that's maybe not fully trusted, you can say, well, I want them to be able to block sites, but I don't want them to be able to allow sites. Or I only want them to be able to modify X, Y, and Z group. Or I I only want them to have access to reporting for these groups, or only be able to see these features. It gets really granular on what types of administration features you can get from as well. That helps.
Kevin, you mentioned that you can block internet access by time of day. How do you do that? Is it a parental request, or you do it on a case-by-case basis?
That was a parental request on that one, yeah. It was a case-by-case parental request. We basically moved the student into his own security group. If we had multiple ones, we would then become like, there would be a time, like, all right, this is the, you can't choose the time. We're going to say, all right, at this time, we had to have a lot of them. But, you know, at this point,
parents generally know that that capability exists.
not yet. Yeah, you know, those are things we can look at. And it's also something we can talk with the principals, maybe making it a unified thing, saying, you know, 11:30 to 4 or 5 in the morning, the internet's off, so kids are not using our device. It's, you know, they're going to use some other device if they are up that late. You know, unfortunately, at the high school level, we have a lot of kids push a lot of AP courses, and I'm not surprised if kids are doing homework at midnight. Unfortunately, I wish I could have more role in saying, you know, that's not right. But when we have some of our best kids play a sport, work a job, take 4 AP classes at a time, they're doing hours of homework.
That's also where you can get more granular. Instead of shutting off all internet at a specific time, you can just allow educational sites after a certain hour, and everything else is blocked, or just streaming radio is blocked, games are blocked, whatever it might be. And you can take, to your point, do the parents know about that functionality? You probably don't want the parents knowing about every bit of functionality. You'd get the helicopters calling in saying, well, hey, wait a second, why isn't this keyword being blocked? I know it can do it. So it's probably best to hide a little bit of it from them. But maybe some of the, you know, the things like blocking after a certain hour might be good, but you'll have one, you know, senior that his bedtime's 8 o'clock, right? And the other one, he doesn't go to bed until 3 a.m., so who knows? Just more control.
During your presentation, you talked about how your product is keeping an eye on all of the inbound and outbound traffic. Media notices one machine in particular is going to bad sites or whatever. How about if I've got like a disgruntled employee or a rogue employee on the inside? That's, you know, all of a sudden they're copying files from a network file share to their phone line. Can that be recognized and can I be alerted to that?
You can definitely be alerted to that. That would come with our FireSphere technology, so that's a separate subscription key as opposed to just the web filtering. But certainly, yeah, you can put certain network segments in a protected object. You can say, you know, these are my servers and these are protected. These are my staff machines, these are protected. They're all VLAN or subnet based. And then depending on what subnet it is, right, because your servers are going to be more protected. Maybe I don't want more than 100 megs going outside the US from the servers, but from my end user computers, I want 200 megs, 300 megs, whatever it might be. So you have different levels of control there, especially based on subnets, and you can get those alerts if they do exceed a certain threshold. Absolutely.
So you mentioned that you do not include the SSID Brochu.
Not yet.
Okay. I was just curious, have you had any pressure from anyone to enable that, or and that was also
Not yet, but the issues we're having tend to be some of the Google, YouTube, we have safe mode turned on. I don't know if you get the, what's it called? Safety mode, blockage, and everyone knows. Even a video that you've uploaded or something. We tried using the safe iboss filter. Unfortunately, then it blocked all the sites that, like if you built a Google site, you put a video up there that you created, those weren't coming through, and there's no easy way to add them to make that happen. So like if we all started on YouTube like today, it'd be great because then we just could use that. But we had years of personal videos that teachers were using that were private or things like that, and they don't fit into the categories unless you go into the next level where you have to manually add all of the videos there. So we've been trying to be more open. Our filtering policy plan will still put a lot on the teacher and on them when they're at school. We monitoring what their students are doing. We give them tools to see what the kids are doing on their Chromebooks with a PAR. They have the ability to see what tabs they have open and what they're doing. I think there's nothing better than educating them. I think that's the most important part. We've talked about this just recently with our staff, educating our students on what to do, what's appropriate, digital citizenship, digital footprint, things like that. I mean, those are all I think in other districts that maybe the parents aren't that keyed in on it, I think. I think you have some parents in other districts, I've basically like heard from other IT directors, somewhere in here, I think, policy issues, and definitely, because I think they work in the field. We haven't, I mean, we've had a few questions here and there, and then, okay, we can answer, it hasn't come up back under a small issue. But we also, like, if you have a district that probably has a lot of parents who are really upset about SBAC and kids taking it, we don't really have that issue. Like, it's just a hard time, so I'm lucky in that sense. But other people, is under currently they're really checking. And it's true, it is something, we talked about it, prep council was this week, about legality of data, doing, when we are dealing with these outside parties. We're talking about the data inside our networks, but we're also pushing data out, like, we're just letting it go out. Are we checking to make sure their backends are secure? And sometimes they don't know, because they're just going to the lowest vendor, cheapest vendor to store their data. They haven't done enough, research, is what we're hearing at some of these smaller sites.
And just based on the privacy concern, I saw one student, I don't remember what part of the U.S. he was in, but he was a really intelligent kid. He's definitely going places. I think he was only in 6th grade. But he brought up, First Amendment. And he's like, it's illegal for you guys to even look at what I'm doing online. And he started this huge push. It was an uproar within, local news, all the newspapers, everything they were doing. I think they even did like 60 minutes on the kid and stuff. But I mean, what you really have to fall back on is SIPA and COPA, right? You guys are bound by law to do this, and you tell them, hey, go up to Capitol Hill and fight it. Don't fight it with me. I'm just following orders. So I think that's really your best bet on disputing something like that with a overzealous student or parent that wants to talk about privacy. And SSL decryption, it sounds scary, but I can set it up with any of you within about 10 to 15 minutes, get it working, prove it's working through a few different sites. So it's really not that bad. The worst part about it is it will be for specific subnets. So you can set it up on a specific computer, test it out. You don't have to affect the rest of the network. We can show you it working. Then you can decide, okay, I want to push out the certificate. Let me get that done. Then the next call over summer or after testing's over, then I want to actually start doing it on all subnets. So it's definitely something that we can kind of integrate in steps, and you don't really have to worry about that. Just give us a call.
The key is, too, is you do it selectively, which is a key thing you guys should all think about, is because most of the competitors out there, it's all SSL or nothing. And that's the big differentiator with iboss, is you guys can do it selectively. So if you guys want to just focus on social media sites and not banking sites that are already secure, it's a no-brainer. So you guys have that flexibility with the product.
Just a quick show of hands. Is there anyone willing to say that they're using SSL decryption? Okay.
Are you having problems?
There really is. Going on and go like.
You have my card. You're going to call me, right?
Yeah.
Monday, Tuesday, something.
Yeah.
Let's get that fixed.
Quick show of hands. How many people are interested in the idea of deploying SSL decryption?
Behind any filter, go to Bing, go to DuckDuckGo, over HTTPS, do a search. Keywords aren't catching it. Students know that. They're not telling you. We need to start doing SSL decryption. So, you'll probably get another vendor coming in, trying to snake you away and tell you, well, iboss isn't looking at HTTPS. We certainly can. It's just an administration thing. We can help you out with that. It's really quick. It's not that hard.
So I know there's not many people here that use the CEN cloud-hosted solution, but we, from time to time, have gotten asked if we will support it, and the answer is no, mainly because of the scalability issues and how much
It's
traffic.
tough from an ISP level.
But there is a line of when it becomes appropriate to have your own clients. It's good to have.
And the few districts that don't, I ask you, you should. You should get them. You're never going to get a cheaper, based on them picking up the cost of the subscription portion. You're paying for the hardware and the warranty on the hardware. We did it the same with TrustWave, and if you tried to stay with your TrustWave and then got a price from them and how much that would be after the subscription ran out, your eyes probably went, woo! You should have something, I think, that your network, and then, you can see what's going on, and definitely think it's something that you should be able to sell to any administrative person because it's just, this day and age in our schools, it's necessary. So.
And if it's anything other than budget, it's a big concern for getting an on-site appliance. Engage Anthony, engage myself. We'd be happy to discuss it with you, debate it, just go over any of your concerns and try to put them at ease.
Can you tell me what you do with peer-to-peer networks in terms of filtering and everything?
We're not seeing a lot of traffic, but it could be like we talked about recently. It could be they've gone to other things. You know, they've gone to the, you know, the peer-to-peers. You know, they're being shut down. They know they don't want to do BitTorrent as much. We're blocking the BitTorrent. We have a lot of those apps through the iboss. You know, through that. Those are all blocked. We haven't seen a ton of traffic in that sense. Not that I'm looking at it every day looking for it, but it's not been an issue. But it may be an issue more than.
Do anything in your library?
The school library?
But no, the town
Town library?
library.
The town library, right now, the way they're set up, we aren't looking at that data. That data, we extend the fiber all the way to them, but because the way our town library is interconnected, it's basically a layer 2 interconnection. They go out another firewall. So, unfortunately, I really don't, I'm working with them a little, but I'm not doing a lot. The police fire, some of the stuff with them, basic filtering, just having something in place has been a godsend for them. We're still working on, those groups and stuff. We actually just put theirs in late winter. There's more there. The police is tough. We're extending different, an extra IP to them that's completely unfiltered because they're doing investigative work. It's been an eye opener. Some of that stuff. The most complex networking I've had to do in my career now has been because of the police station. Because I don't know if you know, like I deal with collecting, but we still want to make one computer talk to this network, but I want it completely secure. Well, that doesn't kind of make sense. ACL rules and all different VLANs and getting that set up. And taking over something that was built organically with nobody thinking about it over the last 12 years, 12 or more, is the other part. It's a constant battle. I think, like we said, I think the security in schools, we're dealing with 900 things, and security is just one of those. So, if we can try to find a way to make it easier, I think we need to be sharing more, talking more about it, issues. I think that was we talked about last session. They talked about it. More of our groups. And another question is talking with CEN and asking them if there's any thing we can do to make it better between all of us. Is there shared? There's always been the talk like a shared employee. So we all buy into a guy who's like Mr. Black Hat or White Hat hacker. We all hire. We all work with. Have them work on it. There's lots of talk about different things like that. So hopefully we can get there. Due diligence. Hard.
What's been your uptime with the Chromebooks? As far as has there been any downtime with the students on it?
On the at home type of stuff, or
Throughout the whole day?
Throughout the whole day. Very little that I know of, unless they're just not telling me. We had just recently a meeting in one area with heavy use. They're having some issues with wireless. I think my wireless issues, though, we're still investigating, is we're hitting that saturation point because everybody has a Chromebook and a phone and a tablet and different things like that. So now the room that was set up to handle 25, 30 Chromebooks is handling 60 devices because we have the guest network as well. So, as we move forward, the concentration is going to get higher. With the Chromebooks in general, I love them. They're the best, for the cost, for the management. We're an Apple district. I've dealt with iPads. Apple's just opening their eyes, like, hey, you may want to let them make their own IDs because we're asking parents to do it. They just added depth last year, to force the iPads back. Making it so policies or profiles can't be just deleted. Look at Los Angeles School District, and do you want to go down that road? The Chromebook just works. It just works for what we need to do. Is it the perfect machine if I'm a computer science major? Probably not. But it's for us what we're doing in education every day. I can't be taught highly of it.
Is there a specific Chromebook that you're buying?
There's a lot of great ones right now.
Okay.
We started with the Samsung first year. Second year we went with Dell. The Dell Chromebook, if you guys went with them a year ago, was a beautiful Chromebook, but it was manufactured for it. Screws were falling out. But Dell, I will say, worked with them. They replaced every single one of them. Just the April vacation came out and replaced them with a newer one. So we got all new ones there. I went with the next. Already bought my next year's. I bought the same model again, just so I'd have the same model. I have 1,000 of them now, and then another 900 of the 600 of the Samsungs. We're looking to replace out some of those. So the Dell has been a good machine. Talk to people. Jeff at SHI and Robert, you're talking about it. Jeff Levin and I. He has the Lenovo's, which is a gorgeous one. There's a Lenovo. Acer has a nice one still. The CEN 740, which is supposed to be educationally stronger. Until they give it to a kid. There's the Flip that's coming out. That one is I'm most interested in that one in the future. The screen's smaller, which is my downside, but it's touch, and it flips into a tablet mode, which I think if we can get a 10, 11-inch size one, light flips, that's, because now Android apps are being able to be run on Chromebooks, and you have touch, you now have the 2-in-1, and you have the manageability of the Chromebook. That's a beautiful thing in my eyes.
Hey, you mentioned 8Ks. You use a room use that?
We're Ruby, yeah.
One in every classroom?
Every other classroom. Kind of stagger it. It was fine. It is working fine for 99%. There's this one room area. We just do another EP up in that room now. In that section, it is 1-to-1, and we'll see. We're going back.
Cloud or control?
Control. Yeah. We're still all in networking. AC is going to be the next thing. AC can handle larger loads, on and off ramp, even with ending devices, get on and off something that moves them on and off the network faster. So it saves risk. I don't have the money to do it yet. It's something we all have to plan for.
Well, it's 12:36. People are anxious to get some food, so thanks.
Thanks for your time.